that theme song again.
Boom. Wow. Bold, right?
It's very bold. The toms still get me. The vocoder. I feel like I'm listening to like a Cynic album or something.
You're talking to the future, the robots.
How have you been, Matt?
Doing well. Thank you, Tim. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well as well. Uh,
Good. It's cool to be back. I'm excited to talk movies with you as always.
Same here. Episode 2. We're going over your movie, the movie that you made, called Hideous. Um,
I wish I made this movie.
uh, so why don't we start by just giving a little update? When you picked this movie, why? What was your reasoning behind picking it?
I think my reasoning. I'm a full moon fan, so I try to watch the full moon movies that they have. They have quite a few from back when they were Empire, Wizard, all these different names that they've gone by. Moonbeam was the kids '90s movies that they made, which was cool, like kind of like Goosebumps kind of stuff. But I've just always kind of enjoyed their movies because they've popped up randomly on like DVD compilation packs or whatever of like 20 horror movies, like Puppet Masters on there or something. So I've always been aware of them, but it wasn't until the last year or so that I've really started to kind of try to collect some of their movies too, and like really start diving into like everything that I can about them. So that was why this one came up. I was like, oh, it's on Tubi. It's over 20 years old, so it's a direct to video movie from the '90s, which is pretty cool. And it looked like it's going to have some kind of practical effects, so that was kind of why I picked it.
Yeah, this movie is there's a store in the city called Forbidden Planet, and they have a literal wall of just horror movies. Like they only carry horror. They're a comic book shop, but in the back
Wow.
they have a wall of movies, and all the movies are like these low budget horror movies that I've never heard of. And I'm curious now that I'm like aware of what Full Moon is. I'm curious like I feel like this movie, Hideous, and all the other stuff that after I watched the movie, I looked at like all the Full Moon movies on like the Tubi channel.
Right.
That is definitely like the type of movies that they have in that collection, and like I could see why a lot of people get really into this stuff and like collect them and stuff like that because they're campy and they're low budget, but they're actually not bad. And like I could definitely see like getting together a bunch of people and watching this could be really really fun, especially in the 90s. Like you may not even have known that this wasn't even in theaters, you know.
Right, exactly. That's a great point. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, the other thing also thought about was like, and we can talk more about this as we get into it, but picking a VOD movie from the 90s is something I never really thought about doing, but low budget got a totally different like meaning back in the 90s than it is today.
Right. Yeah. Because this is still a high production value. You
Very.
know, still there's still good quality to like everything that's in it. Sound, video, effects, performances. Like it's all everything is still handled with care.
Yeah,
So I think
it's really well done. I mean, they shot on film. I mean, it's so much. It must, it's easier to make a movie now. Not, and I don't say easier meaning like it's easy to make a movie, but like it's so much easier to like film because you have digital film and you have like things are just a little bit easier. But this movie is like was still like a real production with like lighting and sound and film and like acting and location. So I
yeah,
was very impressed.
sure. Definitely. Um yeah, I mean that's a really good point, especially um seeing sort of how the effects are played out too, and seeing like probably what the budget of a movie like this was back then and compared to low budget nowadays, you're like, whoa. um yeah, I mean it was still low budget, but like they still definitely had to plan and spend a good chunk of money to make this.
Yeah, definitely higher risk.
Yeah, Agreed. Yeah. And it's cool though. I mean, so going off that, I mean, it's directed by Charles Band, who's kind of the, I would say like the head executive, also big director, writer at Full Moon. It's like his company, his film production company, distribution, all that. So I mean, you could find this movie on Tubi TV. You can also find it on the Full Moon streaming service. So it wouldn't have ads on there, but you pay like $6 or $7 a month. They have a ton of movies on there as well, different ones than Tubi has. So it really does kind of show you the how big of the collection of movies and catalog they have.
Yeah, I like I said, I looked through all the Tubi stuff and I was like, holy shit, like there's so much stuff and all of them look pretty interesting. Some have a little bit of a comedy twist to them. And to be honest, so going off the poster test, we talked about it in the last episode, but this movie looked like it was going to be like I mean, I guess it was gonna be a little bit campy, but I didn't expect it to be as like it's not funny, but it also is funny. Like
Yes.
it has these
Like,
moments where they're clearly going for comedy, but then they have moments that are like really, really serious.
right. Yeah, no, exactly. And that's, I think, part of the camp qualities that it does play both sides a bit of being like blatant humor as opposed to like, dramatic the whole time. And it kind of mashes it together.
Yeah.
Um, which is it's funny because and then there's the idea of the hideous creatures that all these collectors are trying to get, and these things are freaking like gross looking and like and like wet, and like the way the light hits them and stuff. It's pretty funny, like those parts, even though they're kind of like gross out parts too. Like,
Yeah, I was entertained the whole time. I think that's pretty much like what I got from it. It was like, yes, there's horror elements. There's some, I mean, towards the end, there's some pretty gruesome kills.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but for the most part, I mean, when they're communicating with the with the creatures and like knocking, and the creatures are knocking back, like it's just funny. It was a good time. I was steadily entertained. I thought the acting was a really big strong suit of this. I think everyone pretty much did really well.
yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, I
The
mean, it's oh, go on, sorry.
oh I was to say the cop, the detective reminded me of Donnie Wahlberg in Dead Silence.
Dude, yeah, that's a really good comparison. Definitely. I like Donnie Wahlberg in that one. Dead Silence. That's a good movie, actually.
I
He
own it on DVD. I haven't watched it again
Same,
recently, but I did enjoy. I do remember he was like shaving with an electric razor in one scene.
dude. Throughout the whole movie, man. Throughout the whole thing, he just pulls that electric razor out and he just kind of, throws some dashes at his neck with it, and then he puts it away, and then he brings it back out 10 minutes later. It's like, whoa. But it's great though. He straight up in that movie is like a video game character.
Yeah.
He's like from the Nintendo GameCube, maybe even like the 64.
The I kind of want to talk about the location for a little bit because the location is what makes this movie, I think, rise above a lot of like VOD movies even now where you're stuck to one location, maybe sometimes you don't know what to do. This movie had so many different locations and they weren't all just like they weren't they didn't feel low budget to me. They rented out like a castle with like
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
the camera angles were all over the place. They really got, I mean, they got their money's worth for the castle, but I think that was a perfect location for them to make a lot of the movie take place in. You could tell they shot most of the stuff like they shot a lot of stuff in the beginning and in the office and the detective's office, but most of the movie takes place in that castle, and I was never bored.
yeah. No, I agree, and I think something too to go off of that. Filming locations is on IMDb. It says that this was filmed. One of the filming locations was actually Romania, or
Oh,
that it was the filming location. And what you'll see with actually a lot of full moon movies, if you watch like Subspecies, I'm trying to think actually. There's other ones that I'm forgetting, but they've Subspecies is probably one of the more well known ones that was shot in Romania. But they do go to Romania. I wouldn't say frequently, but they've shot quite a handful of their movies there, it seems like, and they've gone out of their way, yeah, to do location scouts to rent out an actual castle to film it. So I mean, like you said, that's a really a great testament to dedication and care for what you're making, to go to the lengths of, well, it's hard to, put together and make a set of a castle
Yeah.
interior. What if we went and filmed in a real castle and had the real authenticity of that?
Yeah, I mean, I applaud them for going the length of. It's one thing to, like you're saying, it's one thing to make like a set that looks like a castle, but it might up the campiness, which probably would have worked for this, to be honest. But
Right,
um,
right.
I did think like filming it in an actual castle just added a lot to it. Um, Going back to the acting really quick, I just want to talk about how I liked how each character was different. You there was a clear, like, it wasn't a big cast. It was just one, two, three, four, five. It was like five-ish, six-ish people through the whole
Right.
movie, and you really got to like understand what each person was. That they were written in very specifically, and I think first of all, this is a very strange idea for a movie. Like, I don't think I can make this up. And somehow they made the characters believable. Um, and it, as bizarre as everything was, I was like watching along and I was like, uh-huh, yeah. This guy wants to, this guy needs to inspect the hideous creatures to make sure that his look better than the other guy. Like,
Right.
somehow you got me. So I respect that.
I agree, dude. Yeah, no, there's a way that, like, I don't know how it is. Full Moon does it. They keep their movies relatively short. I want to say usually under 90 minutes. They have some that are like more, obviously, like over 90 minutes, maybe even closer to 2 hours. But a good chunk of their movies are probably 80 minutes or less.
Mm.
And I really think that plays to an advantage because it can keep your story pretty contained and pretty to the point. And with horror, especially, a lot of times fans are there for the crazy kills and the goofy stuff. And Full Moon, they kind of realize that, and that's kind of just what their bread and butter is like they stick to it, short, to the point, and has kills, has effects, has crazy stuff, sometimes boobs, like that like that's kind of like the way about it, I think, but it works. And it is really entertaining, I think.
Yeah, I looked up some of the cast, and I didn't realize that Full Moon also had a whole like erotic subsection, and I
Yeah.
saw that there's some crossover with the main, the like head guy's assistant who just like lounges around in like the biker vest, who like
Yeah.
robbed the guy.
Yeah.
She's stars in a lot of the other like erotic stuff. Even now, like, it seems to me like a lot of Full Moon actors stay within Full Moon and just bounce from movie. Like, I'm sure you've seen the same actors in like a couple movies.
Oh yeah, quite a few. And I think it's a cool thing. It's like a lot of what other directors do, and they have their cast that they like or their actors that they work well with. One of my favorites with Full Moon, he hasn't done stuff for a little while with them, but his name's Tim Thomerson, and he's a pretty well-known B actor, or in like a lot of B movies, as they say. He's known for the Trancers series, and he
Oh, I've
also
wanted to
did.
watch those.
Oh, dude, yeah, and he also was Dial Man, which was another Full Moon thing, and I think he's shown up in a couple more things actually. Like he showed up in, I'm pretty sure the first Evil Bong and a few others, but he's a great actor, and the Trancers movies are my favorite for sure. I love the Trancers movies. He's an awesome lead. They're extremely funny. They have cool sci-fi action, set pieces, effects, all that cool stuff. So I mean, that's kind of what I've noticed too. Is kind of like how this director or that director loves working with this actor or that actress.
Yeah, and I think like if you get really into these movies, and I really wish like, it would be so cool to like be the age I am now in the 90s, in 97, and like being able to like come like go over to my friend's house and be like, guys, we're watching Hideous tonight. and
Yeah, dude.
like popping it in and like feeling that like rush of like that you're probably gonna see some stuff that like you know I don't know. I think that having it come out in 1997, this movie was way more effective than I think watching it now. I think that a lot of the stuff like I guess you could say that about anything, but um, I did kind of like try to just like sit back and relax and watch this movie as like not not knowing a lot of other stuff that I've seen, if that makes sense. Like you kind of just gotta like sit back and be like, how did someone in 1997 watch this movie and they probably thought this was the sickest movie of all time and like huge budget movie where you probably thought that this like they really hid the budget really really well.
I agree. Yeah, because it's tough, man, to make and sound to look and sound, like a high caliber, big quality product. Because it's hard when you're the underdog and you're not being backed by millions of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, there are some noticeable parts that were like dubbed over, like the entire end shot is like
Yeah.
completely dubbed, like unabashedly like dubbed. And for some reason I wasn't really pissed. It was like I don't know. It wasn't that bad to me, but I'm sure that, if they could go back, they would love to like have actually shot the right line of dialogue. I do wonder like what was the like was the why did they have to dub it? What was the actual ending supposed to be?
Yeah, that would be interesting to find out because I've noticed that with some of their movies, the ADR and the dubbing and it's noticeable, but like you said, it's not always like a deal breaker.
The DVD has audio commentary um,
Oh, that's awesome. Shit.
with Mel Johnson and Michael Citroniti, um, and they have the making of Hideous. So that would actually be pretty interesting. I would definitely watch that.
Yeah, because Full Moon actually in the '90s and on, they sort of did this video zone, which is all of the making of behind the scenes videos on the DVDs. So when I've been buying these DVDs and Blu-rays lately, they'll usually have the video zone on it, and it'll
Mm.
have a good 10 to 20 minute thing on it. Um, that's all behind the scenes interviews, making of. It's pretty cool. Like it really puts you in the moment of when it was shot, and you can kind of see maybe some of the issues they had going in, or this and that, how they worked through it, and it's definitely if you ever have the chance to get some of their DVDs, I would recommend it. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, I would love to watch that stuff. I mean, like, I like watching making ofs in general, but I think for watching video on demand stuff, I think it's actually important that, like, for people who think that video on demand movies are like trash, I think watching the making of and seeing how like passionate people are making these movies and how like, hey, look, mistakes happen. You when you go to the editing room, you have the dialogue that you don't want and you have to record over it. That's just part of it. And I think like it would be very interesting to me to see like uh well for other people to like watch people trying to make a movie with nothing and what goes into that. And also on the Blu-ray of it, it has a digitally restored from the original 35 millimeter camera negative. And I'd be interested to see like how that looks because there was some spots where even you could tell the camera roll got damaged and there was just like missing frames.
Yeah, because you saw, yeah, the flashes of what kind of looks like, I mean, almost like something spilled or burned, on the film itself, where it flashes like that. It happened a few times, didn't it?
Yeah, it kind of adds to it though. It's like
Oh
if you
yeah,
watch
it's
this
cool.
movie like it's a grindhouse movie, then Robert Rodriguez added like the exact same thing intentionally, but this movie all like ran into issues with the camera with the film and they got the effect of it. They probably looked at it as a mistake, but I was watching it and I was like, "Hey, this is actually like adding to the atmosphere of this."
Right? I mean, like it does add to that experience, and like, whoa, like that's it's one of those things. It's like hard to obviously to fix, but it's like, why not? Like it adds character to it. It's an aged film,
The movie was bizarre enough to the point where I was like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, I really honestly have no idea how you can write a movie like this. So I enjoyed it thoroughly. I think that was a really good choice.
Dude, thank you, man. I'm glad you liked it. I was hoping that you'd find some enjoyment from it. I mean, I'm always up for full moon movies, so I was like, oh, maybe he'll dig this. But yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I think it's a fun little movie. It's a little over 20 years old, which is cool, and it's just it kind of digs that curiosity a little more, that like to go venture into their catalog.
Yeah, I'm definitely I'm hoping that in future episodes you choose some more full moon stuff. And
Oh, totally.
they're still making stuff now, right?
Yeah, right now they're doing the Deadly 10, which is really cool. It's 10 films that they're going to make over the next year that pretty much are based off of or part of some of their bigger, well known franchises and series that they have. So, for instance, the first one that they went in, and the cool thing is they're going into production on all these. And when they do go into production, you're seeing a live stream of
Mm.
every day of the set. So they have two cameras on set. One of them's a roaming camera, like moves around everywhere, looks at everybody, and then there's another one that kind of is fixated on the direct, like kind of what they're making, shooting. So you can tune in online at deadly10.com and you can look at all of the sort of videos. They archive all of them on there so you could see the past ones. And so they've gone into 3 productions already. The first one was called Ouija's, which is like a Ghoulies spin-off kind of idea. And they're doing practical puppet effects for it. That was a cool live stream they did. Then the second one was Necropolis Legion, which is like a remake, reimagining of Necropolis, one of their older movies.
Mm.
Uh, and then the more recent one that they just finished production on was Blade, the Iron Cross, and that's a spin-off of the Puppet Master movies, and that's focusing on Blade. Probably, in my opinion, the coolest puppet. He's the one I like the most, I think, design-wise, from the Puppet Master films. And so, I mean, there's 7 more movies that they have to make um, over the next year, and they're going to live stream all of them. So I would definitely encourage you to check it out if you haven't heard of it, because it's a pretty cool way of seeing kind of how low budget independent movies get made, and the problems that they run into and how they can overcome those problems and make the movie happen.
I'm definitely gonna check that out. I think that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it really is. Like I've been really enjoying it. It's completely free. You literally sign up with an email. They don't bother you really on there either. So it's like super chill idea. You can tune in whenever you want, like when it's up, obviously, but it's definitely worth exploring. I would definitely recommend it. Yeah, and I mean you appreciate movies, so I don't see why you wouldn't like it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like seeing how anything's made. To be honest, how it's made, great show.
Yeah, yeah. It's made. How did they make?
um, so I found my movie.
Oh, sweet.
Um, it is from 2016, and it's called Dead Stop. It's on Tubi.
Stop. Let me check it out here. Dead Stop. Ooh, Dead Stop. Ooh, that's a scary cover.
5 friends lost in the desert and miles from civilization become prey to a creature that is savage, relentless, and hungry for blood. Um,
Ooh,
Poster
creature. I like
test,
that.
it passed. I like the title. I like the image. I don't know. It just looks cool. And then if you click on it, I don't know. Like I'm on Safari, so it blocks my like you can't watch Tubi on Safari. Pro tip.
Oh, really?
Um,
Wow.
but I'm looking at like the image that's there for like in the background, and it's like a bloody Jeep or whatever with like 2 dead people. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, dude, I'm seeing that as well. Wow. Yeah, that looks very bloody. That's a white Jeep covered in blood.
It looks like a dead stop.
It does. It looks like it's added Dead Stop too.
Oh, this movie actually is on IMDb. It says it came out in 2011. Oh,
Oh, wow.
but January 16 in the US. Wait. So it was originally made. It was screened in 2011 at a lot of festivals, and then got distribution in 2016. So
Wow, very cool. That's awesome though.
cool. So
They
Dead
hung
Stop.
with it, they hung with it till they got it out. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for this. This looks really cool, and I agree, it does pass the poster test.
Dead
I
Stop.
love poster tests. It's like, hey, come up with a cool cover, man. Draw me in, right?
Yeah, that I pick the movie before I click into it and read about it. I
Yeah,
like
see, that's good. That's good. That's a good way to do it.
I prefer to go into movies without knowing anything.
Yeah, no, that's the best way to appreciate it. I seriously believe that. I haven't watched the newest Joker trailer or any of these new trailers because I'm just like, hey, I already want to see the movie. I don't have to, you know, watch more trailers. I want to go in and be surprised by some stuff.
I 100% agree. I did watch the trailer, but uh,
Good.
it looks great, and so does Birds of Prey. It looks good. But anyway,
Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, that's off topic though. Let's be real here.
those are big budget movies.
Yeah.
Well, great choice, Matt. Hideous from 1997.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. And I am very excited for Dead Stop. So I think this is going to be a fun watch. Maybe a little scary, spooky. Getting the Halloween vibe, um, which is always good.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah, dude. Well,
Thanks for joining.
yeah. Thanks for having me. Let's do this again soon.
Sounds good. All right.
All right. See. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for listening to VodPod episode 2.